had a wonderful lunch and that you'll enjoy the rest of today's content. My name is Gabrielle Anzarillo, and I'm a financial regulator here at ADGM, and I'm really very pleased to have you back with us. Now, the Innovation Challenge, what is it? So the Innovation Challenge is a staple of Fintech Abu Dhabi, which is now part of Abu Dhabi Finance Week. And essentially, it is a once-a-year event where we at the Financial Services Regulatory Authority, along with partners from the UAE ecosystem, put out challenge statements to the community and call on innovators from around the world to make themselves known to us so that we can potentially collaborate together. Now, today's session is a sneak peek before the rest of the world knows, because our challenge statements are going out next week, of what this year's Innovation Challenge will look like. And with that, I'm going to introduce our esteemed panelists. So, on my right, I've got Salma Kayali, Vice President of Innovation at Aldar Properties. And furthest away from me, I have Tristan Brandt, Executive Vice President, Design and Innovation at Rackbank. Now, while we were in the speakers lounge, Salma did tell me that this is her first time speaking on a panel in 3 years. So could we give her a little round of applause to cheer her on? Unfortunately, the same can't be said for Tristan and I, who were speaking together at GITEX last month, so we're old friends by now. So, one thing you should also know is that there is an important seat missing here. Unfortunately, we have a very important innovation partner, so HSBC, and how, unfortunately, their representative, Paul, wasn't able to be here for personal reasons. However, they are very much part of the Innovation Challenge. They are putting out some excellent problem statements, and the entire HSBC MENA team is actually here in the audience. I don't know if you guys can make yourself known. There they are. So HSBC representing there, just unfortunately not on stage. So with that, let's kick it off. I want this session to essentially be a concrete information session on what Aldar and what Rackbank do to actually interact with vendors, entrepreneurs, startups. Like, what's the actual process like? Because so far we've had a lot of thought leadership, but then we have some wonderful entrepreneurs out there who are wondering how can they work with you? And of course with us at the FSRA. So my first question, and I'll kick it off with Tristan, is can you tell us a little bit more about how you interact with vendors, if you have any innovation programs? How does that work?
Thank you, Gabrielle. And I'll bring this closer. So Rackbank is a smaller player compared to some of the other household names here in the banking sector. For us, we find that the opportunity to stand out comes from having a more open mind about innovation and new propositions. First and foremost, we always are trying to understand the commercial market opportunity, and in the context of fintech and innovation, there are really two ways we're assessing who we want to work with. The first is with regard to whether or not that particular organization, potentially if we were looking at sponsoring them through BIN sponsorship, gives us access to new markets and new segments that we don't necessarily have an appetite or ability to go after. So there's the revenue growth or the market growth opportunity through that type of alliance. And then the other main area of focus is clearly we all understand that marketplaces and distribution is changing. As a bank, how do you get access to that? Well, there's a terminology that a lot of the audience will be familiar with, which is banking as a service. We look at technology alliances that enable us to participate more effectively in other markets or marketplaces that are run by some of the companies we want to work with. And as a for example, we're in dialogue with one of the food delivery organizations to offer them an embedded finance service for their restaurants. So we look at innovation very much through the lens of, enabling businesses that are reaching into new markets or staying relevant in the evolving ecosystem. And in that process, ultimately, and I think in the context of the innovation challenge, what matters for us is the ability to realize that opportunity, if I'm honest, at least effort, right? And so we think of innovation not so much, in some cases, of the pure R&D basis, more from can this particular partner help us convert an opportunity at a cost and risk that we think is acceptable.
Very nice. Salma, I know that within Aldar, you have very, very structured processes on interacting with people who want to come in. Can you give us a little bit more detail about that?
Absolutely. So for those who are not familiar with Aldar, Aldar is the main real estate developer and asset manager in UAE, and we're very well known for our development construction sites. However, not very well known for our asset management arm, which includes hospitality, over 29 schools that we operate, leisure, retail, community, and big malls and others. So with that, almost any type of startup can find a product market fit within our portfolio. And you're absolutely right. We do have a strategy and frameworks and processes that we have developed specifically to streamline this process. And some people might assume innovation is a chaotic experience, but it's not. It's very methodical, and there are processes in place to ensure that we achieve those different milestones while we're running these projects. Now, the three main areas that we focus on under our innovation division is one, the incubation acceleration programs that we run annually. And those are internal facing through our people, our biggest asset, but also externally working with our customers and the overall community. The second area is investment into VC techs globally. So we've invested in over 6 VCs and we're scaling across the world. And the final area, which is, I think, often neglected, is governance, reporting, and measuring economic value that is absolutely crucial to get the endorsement and buy-in for additional innovation investment. The three, I want to highlight maybe 2 of our programs that are very well known in media anyways, is the Manassa program, which is an F&B and service retail incubator program, a 6-month program with a 6-week incubation where we attract startups regionally and give them space within our flagship properties, such as, for example, Mamsha Saadiyat. You have come across maybe some of these concepts. And the other program is the Scale Up, which is a global accelerator program where we attract creme de la creme of the startups into the region to scale into the UAE.
Very nice. I mean, today we are within the Fintech Abu Dhabi portion of Abu Dhabi Finance Week. However, the thing that really does link all of the events that are coming up, tomorrow we have crypto, afterwards, the day after we have race, is very much the financial element which powers just about everything that we do. So I think it would be very nice if you can tell us a little bit, because traditionally, like you mentioned, people don't know Aldar as an asset manager. And of course, we think about Rack Bank, we only think about fintech products. What are the industries that you actually look at and the maturity of those solutions? Who wants to go first? Salma, Tristan.
I can go first if you want.
Yeah.
So ultimately, our goal is to drive operational excellence. Anywhere where startups can help us cut down costs, be more efficient and agile is a solution that we're interested in. Now, traditionally, as a real estate company, prop tech would have been the #1 area, and broadly speaking, it is. However, we can see that many solutions nowadays are at the intersection of prop tech. So there's fintech and other solutions. And honestly, the best type of solutions we have come across are those that have integrated these advanced technologies into one solution. But I would say that as Aldar, we work with companies that are a little bit more mature on the startup scale. So that's typically post-Series A. They have a success record and traction, and they are ready to scale if they're from abroad into the region or scale here in partnership with Aldar.
Now, I wish I could say the same for the FSRA, but I do believe, and you're going to see this with our problem statements later on, that we are very much still focused on supervisory tech, subtech, and regtech solutions and such. So we don't have that breadth at the moment because we have to look at just the financial industry and how we can be better supervisors. But Tristan, within Rack Bank, you're also able to look at a number of different areas, right?
So with regard to the industry sectors we look at, historically we've been a very strong performer in the SME sector. And I think it's well known that at a national level there's a strong desire to support small and medium enterprise as a way to diversify the economy, to create more sustainability and a better kind of infrastructure within. So when it comes to the way we look at innovation in that particular market context, usually what we're trying to do ultimately is to make it easier to interact between the bank and the SMEs. And at a simple level, what was referred to at the start of the day in terms of level of digitization, we focus on being able to make better decisions about the suitability of particular companies and organizations in a digital world. And what does that ultimately mean? That means that the way in which we use data to understand the health and viability of a business, if it's a going concern, and to profile that organization, that's probably going to be over the coming 3 to 5 years the most consistent area of investment for us, where we know that if we can make better informed decisions, then our risk selection's better, our lending and decisions are better informed, the stability of those businesses, we can help them more effectively. So to a large extent, I'd say, in terms of industry sectors, we don't necessarily discriminate. We understand and we focus a lot more in tiers of the economy, and our objective is to be smart about how to use insight to make better decisions at scale.
So that's still rather broad. So I think we've been teasing the crowd a little bit at this point, because we are here to pre-launch or launch the Innovation Challenge. Can you share at least one of the concrete asks you're going to put out, or for the challenge statements? What are you going to ask of the crowds? What are you asking these people? What do you want from them?
Ultimately, what we're looking for is, in simple terms, we're looking for help to make better decisions at scale about potential customers. Historically, for those who aren't so familiar, there are decisions that predominantly around lending and establishing lines of credit that have been quite hard to make, particularly in this region, because there hasn't been a wealth of information or rating on different organizations. Corporate tax is coming. That'll give us better understanding of actual history and how our businesses perform, but that's not all there today. So the challenge we're asking for help with is if there are fintechs out there who have intelligent predictive models to enable us to make better risk selection at the point in time where we're establishing a relationship with a new customer, then we're very interested to see how they can make that true.
Very nice, very clear. Salma, can I ask you what your concrete ask of the community will be?
So we are looking for startups that can help us streamline the digital journey of our customers around the financing solutions of homes, so specifically that space. And that is everything from financing the house itself, their home, anything to do with KYC, compliance, cryptocurrency, really removing those pain points along this whole journey and ensuring that we are also advancing in our digital payment solutions as Aldar.
So ensuring that home acquisition is easy, but also done appropriately for the right profile of people.
Absolutely, and we are a very old dinosaur industry. We understand that we are, maybe behind other industries, but we are taking very solid steps into that direction.
I think you're the only person here who's actually admitted that. I had your CEO on stage saying, no, we are absolutely not an old dinosaur.
Sorry, are you asking whether we're dinosaurs?
No, I'm just jabbing at you.
Look, speaking to a gentleman just before coming on stage, where are we in the innovation cycle? So we're in the stage where free money chasing concepts is no longer on the table, right? So what you would understand is a lot of the criticism of banks, some of which I would agree with, but a lot of it was self-serving from challengers who wanted their story to sound good. Now we're in a stage where all of a sudden the economic validity of many startup businesses is being put under scrutiny. Now, the question is, who's going to be standing once that reconciliation has run through? I'd argue the banks will still be here, right? And a lot of the fintechs won't. So there's a value in prudence. There's a value in being clear about whether what you're going to do will work or not. And I think we're entering that cycle where the hurdle rate for innovation is going to be much higher. And I had a conversation recently with the company that we shared the stage with, and they wanted to pitch an idea to me. But I'd say if you're a fintech and you're coming to an incumbent, the best way to make a sale is to be able to say what's in it for the incumbent at a factual level. So if you say, here's what I can do for you, and this is what it means in terms of return, then I think you've got my attention.
I like it. I like it. Well, whichever way the markets swing, whether we have old dinosaurs or new incumbents coming in, luckily, we as a financial regulator will hopefully always be there, right? Unless we get completely disintermediated by smart contracts, which might happen. So you might be wondering, what is the FSRA looking for in terms of challenge statements and what we're going to be asking from the community? Well, we'll be putting out 2 challenge statements. The first one is very topical, and I'm not going to get into discussions with any one of you here on stage, but the first one is on focusing on the traceability of funds within crypto wallets. So essentially demonstrating proof of control of those wallets and demonstrating, ownership of those keys. We at ADGM are very proud of having a very sophisticated virtual asset regime, and we are constantly pushing our supervisory capabilities on that front. And our second problem statement, which is a little bit different, but we're also very excited about, which goes back to my smart contract comment, is that we have very recently digitized our rule books using AI. And all of that training data is now in a GitHub repository that we're about to open up to the world. So we're really looking forward to seeing what the community of developers will be able to do with all this training data and with all the rule books, and see the use cases that are going to come out of the imagination of the community. Now, I know we're running out of time, and I know you're tired of hearing me drone on SupTech solutions and FSRA innovation. So I'm going to ask Salma to take the final question to close us off. And it is, Salma, when a startup, when one of these people are going to come to you later on saying, you should really talk to us, we have the most amazing solution, what homework do you expect them to have done before they come and they pitch you hard?
So we expect startups to have, and I know this sounds very simple, but honestly, I've encountered the situation where startups, we advise them to research the company in and out. Go onto their website, read their financial reports, sustainability reports, innovation reports, anything that's available to understand the structure of the company, their operating model. Because if we take Aldar as an example, over the last 2 years, we have drastically grown. Our operating model has expanded into new geographies, into new sectors. So understanding that very well means that they can connect with the right stakeholder in the business unit and ensure that there's an alignment between their solution and the requirement of the business, which also means understanding the strategic imperative of every entity or every business unit. We also expect them to work on, which is the point that Tristan raised, the ROI. I mean, what is it that you are producing in terms of value for the company? And it's not enough to say, well, it's going to increase customer satisfaction. It has to be tangible. It has to be built into some tangible, some non-tangible, some monetary, some non-monetary, but it shows a clear understanding of what is this bringing to the organization as an overall.
Tristan, you want to add on that?
I think it's a really, really good question. I get approached regularly by people on LinkedIn or other mediums who, 90% of the time, it's a bit of a random shot. I think Salma puts it correctly. There are certain ways to make yourself highly relevant to start that discussion. And the truth of the matter is, it comes down to assessing whether what you have to offer is likely to be necessary for me or likely to be a problem I have. And so what is complex and that matchmaking activity, arguably the onus of effort is with the startup to get that right. In the UK, because this whole matchmaking problem was so exacerbated, what ended up happening is that a number of the banks created a consortium and published a set of kind of engagement principles that they signed up to and made it easier so that what should you expect when you come and work with us was already predetermined, and there were channels of communication for that. I'd say, the more you as a startup can put that thought process in to actually say, I've seen you're in this business. We think you've got this challenge. If you do, here's how we can solve it, and this is what it means for you. That would be amazing. Nobody's approached me with that yet.
Love it. Well, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have Tristan from Rackbank. You can get in touch with her. Salma from Aldar. We have the innovation team from HSBC all there. If you want to get in touch with them, please do go and see them. They're lovely people. They have lots of challenge statements out. And then, of course, please do get in touch if you'd like to speak to the FSRA. My final piece of advice for anyone who wants to get in touch with all of us, and maybe it's a little unorthodox or controversial, is be humble. If you're humble, we'll be humble back. Thank you.
Thank you.